This is a way to liberate and lubricate and keep healthy the joints. It is a way for your mind and body to prepare for still points of the mind traveling through the body, installing the mind into the body in different layers and in different positions and locations in order for you to achieve a mind-body synergy that you can either apply to your life as is or apply to your internal arts, your meditation, or your martial arts. So, to begin, the still points that we work with are very simple. It's like a little ball that is filled with a liquid for about 50% of it. Half of it is filled with liquid. Or you can imagine a teacup that is filled with tea. Whatever you imagine, it doesn't really matter. How it makes you feel is what matters. The visualization is a word I don't like to use because it emphasizes the visual aspect of it, which doesn't really matter. What matters is what you feel. I prefer to use the term sensitization as it elicits feeling and content of perception, where a visualization is just a visual component. It can help, but what makes it work is the body not knowing the difference between what is real and what you imagine. So the body chemically responds to as if that would be really happening. Okay? This is why we use the mind inside the body. One of the reasons. So it's either a ball or a cup filled with a liquid, and we try to keep the liquid as flat and unmoving as possible while we move the ball or the cup in space. This means that you have to try to only move the cup while keeping the liquid still. So you make all the movements with the bones, not with muscle. It is not stretching, and you're never pushing or pulling. You only try to move the bones with the least amount of muscular tension, no conscious tension. When you notice that you're making a movement and there's muscle tension involved, try to slow it down, make the movement smaller, and only move from the bones. If you forget how to do it, come back to the introduction of this video. It is something that is simple, and you will get better at it over time. So don't worry about doing it perfectly the first time. Just turn it into a habit, and if over the course of a year this set becomes a very high quality for yourself, then nobody can take that away from you. It requires no special equipment, no special environment. All you need is your mind, your body, and the ground. All right, let's begin with the first joint. It's going to be the neck. We work from the top down. So the first exercise is I place right here at the occiput and C1, where my skull rests on the spine. I place the teacup there and I make horizontal circles, 3 in every direction. So I go 1, only moving the bone, 2, 3. If I do it too fast, I'm feeling my muscles contract. I'm pushing and pulling, which I don't want to do. I want to be perfectly balanced and reconfigure my skeleton in perfect balance every single time. So it is almost a succession of still poses. Stillness in motion. 3 every direction. Then I move the cup or the ball to about halfway down my neck. Now this circle is made from there, and it is slightly bigger. 3. And then the other direction. Then I move down to the base of the neck at C7T1. Three. Three. Now we make a horizontal circle. So I'm going to trace a circle with my eyes, trying to only move my bones and relaxing everything in my neck. You might feel crunching or compression. You might feel clicks and tendons. Try to relax as much as possible, and if it hurts or if you find yourself tensing up, then make the movement smaller and slower. In general, if you find something difficult, slow it down. And then in the other direction, like a Ferris wheel, like a Ferris wheel that only has one cart in it, and you trace the cart. Three in every direction. Never pushing and pulling, remaining completely neutral with stillness and total relaxation. Now the still point from my neck separates into two and goes into both shoulders. And I roll the shoulders like so, as if the ball or the cup is being moved in space inside my shoulder, and that is what moves and reconfigures my body. 3 times and 3 times forward. Again, I'm not pushing and pulling with my muscle. I'm only changing the position of my bones in total relaxation. So if I do it too fast, I will inevitably be using muscle. Still in these both shoulders, thumbs are in the shoulder nest, and the elbows are at the same height as the shoulders. And I begin to make small rotations of my elbows in total relaxation, just moving the bone into the shoulder socket. With total relaxation. It is demanding. You might feel as if your shoulders are worked on the inside. Good. And then 3 circles in the other direction. Now we place the hands at shoulder height, elbows down, shoulders back and down, and then we make circles with the middle finger. And we imagine that we are puppets on a string, and we only use our bones to move. 3 circles in every direction. Now we hold out the arms, and just as if somebody is holding your upper arm and your lower arm, your forearm, and rolling them in unison, you roll the humerus inside the shoulder socket, and you roll it to the point where your muscles have to contract to pull you further. So when you want to pull further, this is your limit, because you don't consciously use the muscles. You only rotate bone. And we rotate around the middle finger. 3 in every direction. Then we stabilize the elbows and we rotate around the middle finger with just the bones. Three in every direction. Now we stabilize the wrists and we make circles while trying to keep the wrist itself in place. Try to make the movement with as little tension as possible and as much conscious awareness and feeling as possible. Now we go down to the ribs and we make side bends. It's not a stretch. The idea is that you use gravity to get the bones of the ribs to spread open like a fan. So one hand behind the torso and you try and open. It's not a stretch, but you try and use gravity to separate the bones from each other. If there's any adhesions, they can come loose. The breath is neutral. It's out of the way. You maintain stillness and relaxation. You do 3 times on every side. And the ribs open up. So there's no need to go all the way down here. You have to make sure that the ribs separate. And 3. Now we take the ring of the diaphragm and we make horizontal circles. This is quite difficult, so if you find it too hard, then just make sure that you try a box first, so you put it into 4 corners, and over time make it smooth and round. So I always put my hand on the thighs and then try only to move this. So it goes in a circle, one way, 3 times, and then 3 times in a circle the other way. Now we are going to look at the lumbar spine and the sacrum. I'm going to roll my lower spine into a hollow lower spine all the way until I feel muscles contracting to really pull further. This is my limit. I just move my bones as if I have a tail that I want to flip over my head. If I reach that end, I roll it forward as if that tail goes all the way back through my legs and now comes forward. So I close the front. And now I go back and all the way to the front. Number 2, I go back and all the way to the front. Number 3. The lumbar spine can only move like this. It cannot move in rotation. It can only move like this. So the movement of the lower spine, if you have lower back problems or hip problems, you have to start using the full range of motion of your lumbar spine again, and over time it will recover. Now, if we're talking about the chest, we want to open the chest and close the chest. Open the chest and close the chest. And again, we try and focus only on the bones. So it is really the bones that we feel that are moving, and if there's any disbalance in the muscle, we will feel like these lumps of resistance, but we don't use them to generate any movement. We try to only reposition ourselves in relation to gravity and remain completely relaxed 3 times. Then we rotate the head. We will rotate the head around the temple, and we will do it in a way where we lengthen the neck and then try to lengthen the throat, and then try to lengthen the neck and lengthen the throat. Of course, it will not work that way, but in our perception, this is how we should do it. Because if we just rotate around the temples, then you will compress the neck. So we begin by lengthening the neck around the temples, then lengthening the throat around the temples, and then lengthening the neck again around the temples, lengthening the throat around the temples, lengthening the neck one last time, and lengthening the throat. So we want to get a feeling where the top of the head moves away from the collarbone and creates space in the neck. Now we move on to the hips. This is a very difficult one. If you need to, you can use some support. But the idea is that over time, you learn how to do it without support. So the first one is where you put the knee up to about 90 degrees. So this is 90 degrees. The knee is on the height of the hip, not like this and not like this. It's at 90 degrees. This is the middle point, and we begin to make a rotation around the middle point. And then 3 rotations in every direction. So, like so. Again, with as much muscular relaxation as possible. We only want to change the skeleton. We want to change the position of the bones. 45 degrees out, we do the same. 3 in every direction. Slowly, and all the way out. And the other leg, of course. Same height as the hip, rotations. Slowly, 3 times. 45 degrees out. And all the way out. Next, we do leg rotations, just like the arm, as if somebody grabs you by the femur and the lower leg and rotates it in unison. So as if you rotate from the femur. It doesn't have to be big, but it has to be correct. Again, when the muscles begin to come into play to pull it further, this is where your limit is. You have to only be able to move it just with the bones. 3 in every direction. 1, 2, 3. Then we put the feet together, the knees together, hands on the knees. Now, the cups move from the hip, or the balls move from the hip into the knees. So we have two cups here, and we try to rotate those cups without moving the water or the liquid inside, and definitely not spilling, of course. And then 3 times rotation in the other direction. And at last but not least, the ankles. So now the cup is inside the ankle, and we try to move in a circle while maintaining the relaxation and the stillness. And now you will probably also realize how difficult it is to actually make something that even remotely resembles a circle with your ankle. So you try, but it's hard to succeed. And that is not a problem at all, because it's not the point to succeed. It's actually the point to give your body or your mind or both something to do that is impossible to truly master. This is a very healthy mechanism, especially in our day and age of instant gratification. 3 in each direction, very slow, try to keep it as smooth as possible. And of course the last one.